And hello. Welcome everyone. And I want to say sorry for last week because last week's episode didn't take place. We kind of tried to get Elise, aka CCP Swift, on, but he couldn't make it because he has to, I guess, get settled or so first and like figure that stuff out. He seemed busy and stuff, so we moved it. So you can expect that episode actually next week, if everything goes as planned. Sometimes it doesn't, but I think that's pretty much locked in. What's up, Chori? So this episode, what I want to talk about, or one of the things I want to talk about, is the stuff that's happening in LoSec at the moment a little bit. It kind of feels like there's like two teams building, and I guess there was like two fights recently, but it has been going on for a while, I guess. And Hai and Valasius are probably pretty good at explaining what's going on, because I'm actually not an OSIC guy. I just pick up the bat one every now and then, and then I enjoy a fight. I guess it's the same for Valasius, to be honest, right? But at least you have more low-sec experience than me. So obviously, High, spiritual leader of Snuff, not the Space Pope, that's Jonas. And I think everyone knows High, right? Has been around for a couple days. So, and then we've got Valasius, who actually has been, I guess, an up-and-coming FC for a while, but I think you've settled in a pretty strong role within dock workers, and I think a newcomer FC, that's not really a title anymore. I think we had you on almost a year ago, half a year ago, something like this, right?
Yeah, it's been a while, but
yeah, definitely has been a while. And back then maybe in UFC, but you've been very active. And active for, like I said, dock workers. So then, like, what the fuck is going on in LoSec? I don't get it. Like, what is happening? Like, who wants to pick it up? Nothing much.
Yeah. I'll run with it high. So I think Snuff is here for they come to this side of the war zone about 2 times a year to get their fights with Siege Green and try to get fights with RC, but this time RCR is actually fighting back. I don't think that happened in any of the previous deployments. So they're here just trying to attack everyone in the war zone, which all power to them. That's the fun thing to do.
Like, so
yeah.
Wait a second. So, Hi, you guys started this? I had the feeling it was Wrecking Crew that kind of kicked this off. Because it was your fault, Diane.
No, I mean, come on, Panda. When is it us that's never the aggressors, right? We're all the aggressors.
The bad guys.
Exactly. Nah, we started it off, but Siege Green kind of wouldn't fight us ever. And so we killed, I think, 80 of their Athenors, something like that.
80?
And, yeah, 80. I think we
what
killed
the
all
fuck?
of them.
How did you kill all these fucking
So
Athenors?
this time we just were like, oh, fuck it. They never contested any of them.
So you just steamrolled them all with like spread everyone out, just grind everything at the same time, or what?
Yeah, pretty much. I think we lost a couple of dreads a few times to, like a nano super or something, but we got it all done. And then they just started shooting our Fortizars, and they decided to use the goon tactic of feed everything, kill objective, and it got a bit too much for us, so we called you guys.
Hey, don't hate on that goon strategy. Okay.
You can throw enough of anything at a problem and it'll work.
Well, for a keeps that it's anchoring next to your staging, I think it's a legit strategy.
Yeah.
I don't want
the objective's a little important.
I might be biased here, but that's just my take. But So the first fight that we had, that was kind of weird. So Shines is forming the Kiki fleet and says like, "Hey, since we don't have anything on the boards, Snuff is asking for support," which is kind of a change for us too. If you think about it, like especially Shines, like it took a little longer to, get back at a like a good relationship with you guys. I feel like, right? So we're
I
back
don't
to
know.
the.
I still talk to Shines continuously.
I
but-
know, no. I mean, just in-game wise, I know we're still friends. How you Shines me and like nothing of that sort. But I like to call him up and say like, "Hey, you want to form for this?" And him being, "Yep," and just show up next day. You know, especially since we're busy in the war. I thought that just like that was the first time we formed for you to help you guys out again after like how long? Like a year or so.
Full circle, right? We've gone from fighting in it, which we did last time when you guys were with the culture, to fight, like, helping each other out. And soon enough, I'm sure we'll be in some blob fights together.
Yeah. Like I always enjoyed that time, right? Like if it's full circle, I welcome it.
Yeah,
A
it feels
lot
that
of
way.
weirder things have happened between people and Eve.
That is also true. But yeah. So first of all, that was a whole timer. Oh, that was actually two whole timers simultaneously on two Fortizars. And we showed up in Kikis, which was kind of interesting for me because I didn't FC those and I could just like hang out and fly something else. I mean, actually, in the first fight, I was still flying a Harpy, just in case. But so, and then like in low sec, it kind of is. It had. I mean, it has always been a different meta in general, but I feel like Kikis and what we were fighting Serbs and like it was a wild mix for low sec. I felt like, you know what I mean? Like usually you only have like heavy battleships and then dread escalation, not necessarily on a fort. But I guess where I'm going with this is like, do we see the meta changing already in low sec a little bit, like from scarcity stuff or in general?
It was a hard counter because obviously we're in carrier, so they took Kikis and the Cerberuses to defang us, obviously. But then I find RC quite weird because I'm pretty sure they form way more capitals than us, judging by their like locals that they have left, even after they jump out all their subcaps, and they just never use them. But I mean, I guess feeding 100 bill of battleships is cheaper than feeding a dread fleet. So, yeah,
that is kind of true. So you want to talk us through the second fight? I thought that was the more interesting one, actually.
Yeah, so that was pretty funny. I mean, we formed and we called you guys over, and then we saw that the locals of RC and Shadow Cartel and whatever were quite low, and they undocked a couple smaller Cerberus fleets. Like it wasn't as big as the other fight; it was only like a few hundred people from them, like 100 and something Cerberuses, and then you went to go kill a Rorqual, and I was like, take your time, it will be fine. It's just Cerberus.
Wait a second, I have to stop you here. That's not what happened, okay? You said the numbers were low, and you said don't jump in yet, or otherwise there's not going to be a fight. And then we said, yeah, well, we can go and hunt something in the meantime.
All right, yeah, okay, yeah. So when the locals are so low, our locals are like way higher because just like Snuff alone, because they were just doing serves, I guess. And then I was like, I guess they're not going to really fight, so like I guess wait till they come to see if they're actually going to come instead of jumping in and wasting your time. But then I guess they did. And then Shine was like, we're going to kill a Rorqual. Is that okay? And I was like, yeah, take your time, it's fine. You know. And then by the time you guys came, the Citadel was actually dying, and it was basically just us chasing them around the grid while they just kept shooting the Citadel and us just trying to kill Cerberuses. And I think by the end of it, it had 5 seconds left on the repair timer when it died. It was super intense towards the end. It was really fun, actually.
That was fucking close. Like, we thought we had it at some point, and then, like, it was just so fucking close. I couldn't believe it.
If I could add in the thing that actually saved that for the attackers there, it was actually the new Bro Destroyer fleet from RC with like all the Talwars and Cormorants and then slightly more experienced people and Kikis. Yeah, because when you had like the legions and then the Kikis on all the remaining serb fleets left over. The only thing uncontested for a couple seconds there was the Nubro fleet. So the Nubros actually saved the day.
That's cute.
Don't underestimate them.
Yeah. So from our perspective, right? So you told us, take your time, don't jump in yet, and we decided to go for a rocker that we spotted earlier. And that rocker wasn't there anymore, so we sent our dictators a little bit further out. Sent some dictators left, some dictators right? And turns out one dictator went on his own. Like, it's actually one of our best hunters, Schwo. He went on his own, tackled the rocker, but no other dictators were in the area. So then we had to send everyone over there, and everyone had to burn 10 jumps. By those 10 jumps, obviously the dictator died. We did have a second guy on that grid already, but he died in his carriers. And then the rocker just warped out in like shortly before we could reach it, which was kind of sad. But then No Value, whose rocker it was, they formed some cormorants, and they didn't kill anything. I think they killed maybe 2 Kikis or so. But they wasted our time, because then you said, while we were actually in that rocker system, you said like, oh, actually there's a fight now. And we're like, yeah, well, we're on the way, But the fort is already in 40% or some shit.
Yeah, things die faster than you expect to be.
Yeah. So we are on the way, and then the comms waste our time a little bit, and we're like, come on, leave us alone, right? And then we move on, and then we catch the comms. I almost spilled my beer. That was close.
You cut off.
And then we caught them on the wormhole actually, and got rid of the comms. But by that time, it was like, I don't know, I think we had like 20% left when we reached you guys, right? And I think that made all the difference. So shout out to No Value that actually saved the kill too, right? Like the new bros combined with that little delay, that could have just been, that little bit of time they needed. And yeah, but we're so used to this, right? Like usually it's Tao though, right? When he says like, "Hey, can you guys form?" and then you ask for the time like right now or like 5 minutes ago. Like that's usually what happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, it made it more intense. So you're welcome.
Yeah, what?
Sometimes you gotta have that drama. Sometimes you gotta like accept the risk for it to be a lot more fun. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So how was it from your perspective then, Valasius? Oh,
I was working, but I did have the fight. I was watching the fight on my monitor. I work from home, so
yeah.
I wasn't there, but I was in the Cord channels, and it was chaos.
Yeah, you weren't on the second timer. You were in the first one though.
Yep, and then all the other skirmishes that have happened, I've been in on.
Yeah, so there have been a lot of skirmishes already, like leading up to this, right?
Yeah, 2 or 3 fights. I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but yeah, there's been lots of fighting.
Yeah, I mean it's good. It's good to have activity in those seconds. I think technically, if you look at it, technically we are on the back foot because we keep losing Fortisars, I guess. So it's nice to be challenged, for once. So
Yikes.
I mean, it is a bit of a challenge, clearly, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The thing is, like, that's the beauty of LoSec or NPC space in general. You can just anchor a new one within a day, which you tried, and it got killed again. But then again, it was a fight worth anchoring a fort for. And I think everyone's reaction in our call was like, hey, like, when are we going to anchor the next one? And I think you already did, right? Today? Didn't you?
I can't disclose that information, Panda.
If nobody spotted that one.
Oh, it's been spotted.
All right. But so I mean I think an interesting point you were making was you didn't want to waste our time, right? And I think that's I wouldn't say like necessarily that's nice of you, because like obviously we don't want to waste our time, but then I think that's something a lot of smaller groups or let's say unexperienced groups underestimate, right? When they call in someone bigger, like you better deliver or like make it worth everyone's time and stuff like this, right? So I feel like that's a common mistake when like smaller unexperienced groups like try to bet phone someone, that they just don't understand it has to be worth everyone's while. And how do you get them to show up the next time if the first time was like clearly blue balls and there was no chance of a fight in the first place. Holy shit, 3 tiers with 69 viewers, like
Nice.
very nice, very nice. I always try to hit the 69 mark, but I always fail. But yeah, welcome guys.
I mean, yeah, but bat phoning is funny. I like it when smaller groups try and bat phone you just so you don't go kill them yourselves. That's the best type of bat phone.
If the person you're bat phoning doesn't care about you, they're gonna do whatever's the most interesting thing on grid, and if that means shooting you, then you should have known better.
That's what happened to Black Legion. Didn't deliver. Wasted our time.
That old story. I mean, people actually kept saying, I forgot actually, I think it was in that fleet, in the last fleet, where people said like, hey, Snuff didn't backstab us yet, right? Everyone's kind of waiting for it, but like,
I mean,
I
think
it.
Yeah, our relationship is very old, and you're very confident. We're not going to backstab you. We have a very old relationship. We're not, we have old friends. Believe it or not, we do have friends.
And even then, is it really that interesting to shoot a bunch of kikis when they're just gonna warp in 3 seconds?
That's also true. Like, we don't have anything to like that's worth backstabbing for.
I mean,
maybe that's all
in the past, there definitely was opportunities. We've dropped Titans together and lots of shit like that. It's just we have a good relationship. It's not worth it.
That is true.
That's sweet.
I mean, I know that some of your members might not like us, but it's more the FC teams have good relationships. We've always liked working with you. You're one of the more competent nullsec groups, which definitely shows because we've worked with other people in it. It's like shit. There's FCs out there that are super egocentric and shit like that, and it's not fun to work with them.
You know what? When we worked together the first time, I have to actually think back. That was probably one of those.
The first real time was F7C.
No, I'm talking. Yeah, well, we worked together on that one, but I'm not sure if I was too involved core wise. I would probably I'm staying out of core whenever I can, because it just like I'm just not good at it, like managing all that stuff, and like I just want to focus on one thing and then do that as good as I can instead of trying to do like all kinds of things. But I remember, I'm not sure if it was the first time we ever worked together, but I went onto your comms and Hi Wanto Destroyer, that name kinda always seems spooky, and then it's Snuff who are spooky, and then we work together and you're just a chill, nice guy, and I just like, oh, that's surprisingly enjoyable to work with these guys, right? And
same with you, yeah.
Well, I'm not spooky.
What did you think about Pando before you worked with him? What did you hear about him? Just for my own curiosity.
Pando is very experienced. I mean, so I think in the initial days it was like me, Soraya, Tao, Bliss, and Shines that would sit, and I think Pando was
That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
And mainly Shines and Bliss talking, both very chill, competent FCs. And then I think Pando, I kind of, got to see his abilities more and more when he started doing, I believe, snatch fleets. That was his real big thing. And, he kind of, I was kind of scared of Pando, to be honest. I was happy that we had a good relationship with it. Fucking snatch fleets were horrible. Horrible. So yeah, I've always thought he was very competent. Like, he's probably one of the best theory crafters in the game, for sure, for fleet style fights.
Oh.
Well, if you look at it, like over the last 5 years, you've created some of the strongest compositions. You've done Snatch Fleet, you've invented Stuka Fleet, you've invented cavalry.
Depends on who you ask.
I mean, you have, right?
Yeah, well,
I feel like the first one
I
to
don't want to
combat
toot my own
test
horn
it.
here.
Yeah. The first one to combat test it gets the credit, in my opinion, not the person who had the idea on Pytha or
Yeah.
CZ.
So that's
Well,
what I
exactly,
always that's what I always say though, right? When people say like, oh, like yeah, Pando's an FC, I always think in my head it's always like, nah, actually, I'm a theory crafter first. Like the only reason why I started FCing was nobody wanted to fly the shit I was coming up with. So I had to do it myself, you know what I mean? And then, you build from there. And then, I'm an FC too now. So I can run the shit I come up with. Like, you know how hard it would be? For example, chemos. Like, explain. I mean, chemos are probably a bad example because the potential is just so epic and awesome that FCs would jump on it, right? But when we first did it, like, to explain someone, hey, you should, like, take 10, 15 Lokis and put only smart bombs on it and then, like, try to catch scepter fleets with it and stuff, right? Or snatch. Like, how are you ever gonna, like, explain another FC how you envision to run a snatch fleet? Because, like, at this point, I don't even know how I did it anymore, right? So that's why I had to run it myself and then figure it out. So
how was it like from the beginning though? Because I feel like if fleet member XYZ's like, hey guys, I have this new comp that I really want to try, people are, and it sounds weird and they haven't exactly like proven themselves to be competent, I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, fuck you, and they're not going to join.
I mean,
I actually had an example of that recently. So for the Bascarian Keepstars, someone had an idea of running the init version of the Naga fleet, with the ABs and all the like the blaster Nagas, and just putting that and just literally orbit them on Snuff's carrier group and just trade Nagas for caps. And like it was kind of shut down because the person who brought it up didn't really have any credibility or experience to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
But if you actually coordinated all like the 700 people from 100 different groups together and coordinated them to do that, I bet they actually wouldn't have been able to break some amount of caps there. But because they didn't have any credibility, the idea didn't really get off the ground.
Yeah, you see that a lot.
I hate the Reddit atmosphere now. Like even my guys, I don't like shit talking.
Like, your guys aren't like Redditors at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
Because I think shit talking FCs is like kind of bad because this game lacks FCs because this game is shit in terms of what FCs have to do. Like you have to go bash like 90,000 structures and get like 2 fights. So very time heavy for people, and for them to do one fleet badly and then people make them feel like shit and they just don't do anything again and they don't get numbers. It's hard for them to grow into something more competent.
You know what? I think the current development with like groups, right, and this war certainly doesn't help with it, is like groups get bigger and smaller groups, there's just fewer of them, right? I think we had a couple, which was nice to see, a couple like well organized and like well run mid-sized groups with good FCs, for example dock workers or deep water hooligans, or like the guys we work together and catch, like there's a couple of them surprisingly, but at the same time, if you look at the big picture, you have way more bigger groups and less smaller groups now, and I mean it has been an ongoing thing. And I think that also hurts when it comes to FC development, right? Because FCs only have so many spots where they can go, right? So if you can start out in a small group that's not very experienced, like it's way more forgiving if you fuck up there than if you start out, let's say you want to start out in Init or like any other group. Let's just say Horde. I mean, Horde maybe is not the perfect example, but let's say you want to start out in
FCing though, right? You wouldn't learn, like FCing a small group is different to FCing a big fleet.
Yeah, it is different, but I mean, it's still FCing. You want like more FCs that are willing to put in time and stuff. There are certain groups that are just like better at like learning the ropes, I think, and the best groups for that are usually the smaller groups where you can just like take
practice
10, 15, 20 guys out, yeah, and make it work and get some stuff done and stuff, right?
I think maybe the mechanics are different between between small scale, medium scale, large scale, obviously, but like the bottom line FCing skills of being able to make decisions quickly and being able to like adapt and know when to engage and when not to engage, like the kind of practice stuff is like that bottom line stuff that you can figure out regardless of what scale fleet that you're running.
To be
And that's
honest,
when it
sorry, you keep going.
go for it.
No, you go. Sorry.
No, you hang up.
Too bad. I'm going.
Okay.
So you know what? I don't think if you don't have a really strong support group of talented people, of people who know how to look at things like with a critical mindset, you're not going to be able to develop. And an example of this is a nameless person who tries very hard in Brave Newbies, who whelped a fleet of hurricanes against harbingers. And I'm willing to talk to anybody. It doesn't matter who you are or what group you're in. But I actually had a quick conversation with him about the matchup on how harbingers eat hurricanes, and he said that this was like the most advice anybody has ever given him. And like, and I saw that, and I was just like, that is like the saddest thing I've ever seen or heard of. The fact that you can be in this 10-year-old plus, alliance that's PvP oriented and not have anyone giving you any kind of backup just sucks.
Yeah.
It's also learning. Like, if you go back, like 4 or 5 years, there was so much more going on, and now there's less and less. There's less opportunities to learn, and the bigger FCs will actually take, the bigger fights because they want to win and they have to, and there's less opportunity for you to learn because there's really nothing going on. And that's why I think it will suck if they're really going to nerf Rorquals to just a leadership role, where Rorqual hunting is pretty decent content in a game where it's basically just Citadel bashing. I hope they replace it with something decent or actually add content instead of just adding modules and stuff.
The subcap fights that you get from tackling Rorquals have easily been like my most favorite content in Dockworkers since it came. So yeah, +1 there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously, I think everyone knows like hunting rockets.
Pando likes hunting.
Yeah.
So Jean LaForge says, don't you think FCs have to do so much more these days? I remember in 2006, 2007, you'd have scouts ahead of the fleet doing all of the scanning and hunting. Now FCs are doing most of it themselves. And I feel like we talk about that quite a bit, about how hard people underestimate the amount of work that goes into planning and like organizing and structuring fleets from start to finish, when people only see, an hour of fleet time, when it actually, has 2 hours of prep time behind it that they don't understand. And I think that goes into what you guys were saying before too, about how people just, the amount of time it takes to put into developing your skills as an FC. Like, a lot of people are playing Eve as like a night. There's like two types of Eve players. There's like the I want to relax and play some Eve, and then there's like the oh fuck yeah, we're gonna kill everybody like type of people in Eve. And like these are tend to be the FCs, because these are the people willing to put in the 3 hours of fucking prep to go do an op. And these guys are like, yeah, okay, I'll do a roam every once in a while. But to be hardcore in Eve, it takes so much time to actually put into it.
And so I think it definitely has to do with what I just said, right? There's less opportunities too. So it's way harder now to go out and just find a fight, I feel like, at least, right? So you have to put in more work to increase your chances, because also I think nowadays expectations are just way higher. Like, on top of that, I think back in the day, the expectations weren't that high. Like, let's say in 2012, 13, 14, right? And then that combination, like all together, just like that just makes it a little bit hard, right? So it's definitely not easy. And then as an up and coming FC, it's definitely it's definitely not easy.
But I think that's something that really is like a roadblock for the game to get more people into FCing, is, like someone, for instance, like someone like me, if I were to say like, okay, you know, I'm going to start FCing now, like I don't have the time to like put into being not just like FCing, but actually being a competent FC, and like, because it basically takes studying to be able to be a competent FC. So for someone to take this game and then put like so much time and effort into it just to FC, like that's a pretty high time commitment.
Yeah, so I mean, it depends on what do you want to FC, right? I think there are some comps that you can fly, like it's gonna be fine if you don't know everything. Like the Hurricane Harbinger example that Valasius brought up. Like, yeah, you learn that lesson, you know, one day. It's not gonna be the end of the world. You can just like take the fleet out again. There's only so many different comps you will encounter with a certain ship type. You know, if you only fly Hurricanes, for example, there's only gonna be like, let's say, 6, 7, 8 different comms you will encounter, especially nowadays, you know. Let me take a guess. You're gonna see some mutants, right? There's gonna be some eagles, maybe. Maybe harbingers are kind of rare. Like I don't remember when was the last time I fought harbingers. So, you know, he probably got caught by surprise, because he has never seen harbingers, which is always, you know, an advantage, I think, in every comp, that you bring something nobody has seen. Because a lot of times I think you saw that, and we talked about that before. I think with High too, especially now with the mutant meta, everyone's so used to those, and FCs get so lazy, and they're just not good anymore. After a while, if you only fly that
They're
one
complacent.
comp, yeah, I do believe so. I really do, right? But yeah, I actually, I think I did make my point. I forgot if I was going somewhere else.
I think the game is lazy in general anyway. It's like nobody doesn't. With every patch CCP does, it becomes less and less about skill and more about N+1 for nullsec anyways. I mean lowsec to an extent as well. So it means that you just basically just focus on having more people rather than putting any, you know, effort into plays compared to the game. I don't know, like, you know, 2012, 2013, 14, there was a lot more going on in terms of what you could do to get a fight, what you would do in a fight, and how you'd win a fight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not sure if I totally agree, but I think the numbers thing, I mean, definitely everyone seems to be so focused on, like, do we have the numbers? Do we have the numbers, right? It's part of why I'm so annoyed by the, like, even the wars or conflicts that were leading up to this war, it already felt like it's a numbers game, right? Like, as a theory crafter, like, that's the opposite of what I want to do, right? Like, I kind of want to come up with cool shit to counter stuff, and then have them come up with cool shit to counter our shit. Who knows, right? And then that's the gameplay I would seek out. So yeah, I think it. I think
at least on the smaller scale, it gets a little more favorable. Like if it's under 100 people for both sides, it's
yeah, that's more
that's
room.
where we get to have a lot of fun in and get to fight outnumbered a lot, and that's there's a lot of room in that realm. But you're right, when it comes up to the 500 versus 500 blob plus fest, then it's
There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say in nullsec, 100 versus 100 is the hard border. If you go over that, it already becomes the pure number game, because then, you know, alpha is already high enough to, you know, for example, Hex, they alpha each other. And then battleships, you know, you can't just slave them like you guys do in low sec. So you know, there's a very high chance that one side is just gonna, you know, steamroll the other side, especially with caps involved and all that stuff. So it becomes a numbers game already. Like in null sec a little faster than in low, I would guess. I think in low you have more options.
Yeah, with implants, the options open up.
I think it really impacts like player retention as well, because the way I see it is the newer players don't mind the tie-dye grinding as much. But like, for example, if I was to go make my guys go into like a 10% tie-dye fight, they'd all complain and hate it because they've done it before. And having to just keep going into these massive fights all the time because nothing else really happens really detriments player retention, in my opinion, as well.
I mean, I can say for a fact that once we got into this war and my options became very quickly limited to no fleet or 10% tie-dye fleet. I definitely started like playing Eve less and less, because who wants to, like, the last thing I want to do when I get home from work after 8 hours of like busting my ass is come sit in a fucking 10% tie-dye fleet for another 4 or 5 hours. So it really, for the people like me that try to just play a little bit in their free time, like, it's extremely detrimental to have to do these big blob tie-dye wars.
Yeah, I mean, some people just don't have the time for that, right? Like, as simple as it's simple math, right? You simply don't have the time. Like, even if you wanted to, and if that was the coolest shit you've ever seen, like, it's so many tie-dye fights. You can do it once, you can do it twice, maybe a
Stops
month.
being cool.
But if it gets too much, like, it's just not possible, right? So yeah.
They're not even intense anymore. It's not like it's like a full escalation which slowly builds up. It's like one fleet's in Cerberuses, one fleet's in Hacks, and they're just burning away from each other. And then like 3 things die and 10% tie-dye, then you all go home.
And then you see the Reddit post where they're like, "Big brawl in this system," and I'm like,
Oh my
"You're at
God.
130 kilometers trying to outrun each other's missiles, and you want to tell me this is a brawl?" Like, whenever someone says that, I judge them.
I thought that was too funny. Like, several times in this war, you had like a fight kickoff in like super hardcore tie-dye, and then let's say 30 bill died, and everyone was like, "Look." I don't even care who. Like, side A says, like, "Look, side B finally got their fight, and haha, we killed them, right? 30 bill killed." And then 5 minutes later, another post comes up from low saying, "Hey, we had a drip war. It was pretty fun, right? Like
400 bill.
Yeah, 400 bill, 500 bill died." And it's like, it just kind of shows. And those groups are not supposed to be the rich, fat guys. You guys are supposed to be the
The poor pirates, like,
Exactly.
scrambling for whatever on a gate.
So I thought that was always, like, from the beginning of that war, I kept saying, like, look at it, like, everyone's like celebrating these peanuts of fights. It was just weird to me, right? And then also, I mean, it happened to us. I think in Fountain, when we lost like a bunch of carriers, it felt like a big loss. But if you look at it, it wasn't that big. Like, what did we lose? I think it was like 30 bill or so. I don't even remember. Maybe it might have been 100 bill. But what's 100 bill? Like, that's not that crazy, actually. But yeah. So it kind of feels like the scales are just like weirdly. It's weirdly.
Yeah, the balance is off, where it's just there's like 30 times more player and 30 times less ISK dying over there in that side of things.
But that also reminds me on another thing. What I like keep saying is, like, if there was no tie-dye at all in this game, let's say CCP figures it out, the kill speed in those massive fights would be insane, right? It would be
mistakes
insane.
Would be far more punishable.
Yeah, and if you're not an FC, I think you don't understand how crazy of a difference of a fight, just strategically, tactically, in general, it would be. Like, it would be completely different. Now having a 250-man blob, like, you have to be really efficient with those 250 people. Right now, everyone's kind of winging it, and it works out, and it's the numbers game. We have more numbers, all right, let's go in, right? This is kind of the name of the game. But in that case, if someone is really good, like real good FC skills and coordination and everything is on point, then you can actually do something outnumbered if there's no tie-dye. I think that would be such a difference. But yeah, let's stop dreaming. It just makes me sad.
Well, hopefully
Maybe one
with
day.
the Elite added, maybe one day Elise will push them to make more content creators or something. I don't know. The main thing is content creators for me, anyways. Like, they balance so much other shit and add new things. They just don't add anything that would actually make content. They mainly just remove it.
Yeah, well, that's also something I think we've been talking about like multiple times. It's like, all we are asking for, like, I think FCs in general, is like opportunities for content creation, right? We don't need content, like, don't spoon feed us. Nobody's asking for that, right? All we want is like opportunities. Like, give me a way of getting it, and I'll go get it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like the Citadel defense I always talk about. It's like the amount of timers and all that stuff, right? Just like design it in a way where we can actually get it, and the workload
This is where CCP just makes instance fleet PvP.
Instance fleet. That would be the death of the game, I think. Instanced fleet PvP, like 100 versus 100 filaments or so.
Like an abyssal space, like 30 versus 30 or some shit. The proving grounds.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. By the way,
it reminds me what all the small gangers who would curse the idea of the instance 1v1 3v3 stuff, and then you see those same exact people who were criticizing it playing in it. I agree with you, Pando, but it's just really interesting to see that happen.
I haven't really been. I mean, besides like one or two, maybe two streamers that I know that like do solo PvP, that do the proving grounds every once in a while. I haven't really seen. I mean, you can correct me, but I haven't really seen many people like being super fucking gun ho about the proving grounds that are normal, like solo players.
Yeah, I do think there was just too many of them, right? I think the first proving grounds, they were kind of fun. Like, what was it, Cruiser 2v2, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. If they would have done like they would have opened it for like a week and then done one like every couple months, like a new proving ground event, then it wouldn't have burnt us out. But everyone was super excited about it at the beginning, and we did them. Like, I remember you and I both did them. That's like the 8th time that you've dropped your
I'm
pen.
sorry.
Like
I always have like a
put
pen
it down. So like we did that event with CCP when they first came out, when we were doing the 2v2s. Me and CCP Deadlift totally won all of our 2v2s, by the way. That's what we're telling people.
Totally.
That's what we're telling people. And then after that, yeah, they just like were like hardball rolling them out so quickly that it just wasn't cool anymore. It wasn't like special anymore. But that's kind of what we called from the beginning, though, is that it's one of those novel ideas, but it's just gonna fall off towards the end. But I do like that they're doing like the skin rewards and stuff for the leaderboard to kind of like keep it going. I do think that's kind of cool.
It's just very easy to get now, because nobody's because nobody's playing the proving grounds at the moment. I think, what was it? I was watching. Who was it? Ah, shit. Who's the German guy who has been streaming a lot recently? No.
I don't know.
Like a solo PvP.
The German guy. Bando.
No, not Michael Starlight. All right, shout out to Michael Starlight. Like, I think he's
Michael Starlight.
Obviously, he's streaming in German, so I guess
Evlog isn't German.
He's Croatian. But so Michael Starlight has been streaming a lot recently. He did a 24-hour stream actually yesterday.
Okay.
So he's doing proving grounds every now and then, and that's where I saw like to get in the top 100, or was it top 50 where you get the skins, you needed 7 wins, and it was already going for a while. It's not very hard to get those 7 wins, right? So it was pretty much for free that you would get them. And yeah, it was just like a little, it's just too many of them, right? Like we said. And yeah,
Kiro, sorry, go on.
No, I was just about to say, like, yeah, you should check out Michael Starlight. Even though he's streaming in German, he speaks English too, but I think he's not comfortable speaking English. But I guess we all speak Eve, so you're not gonna have problems understanding what's going on his stream anyway.
Kira was talking about more AT style tournaments. I don't know. I've been hearing rumors, like maybe they're just rumors, that they're starting to look at some AT type stuff. But I could be completely fucking wrong. So like,
maybe
don't clip that.
I was gonna say the personnel is now there.
That's what people were talking about.
The motivation is there.
Yeah.
and he would lose 4 months pay willingly to make it happen. I'm not saying that that is needed, but that is the motivation that he would have to get it off the ground.
Yeah, so the thing is, we would have to talk. We'll find out next week, I guess. Put it on the list, right? But the thing is, what is his actual job? So he joined as a community manager. So he might just be able to spearhead a project like that, but then you need the engineers to actually lift the fucking thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not so easy as just deciding that it's going to happen.
Yeah,
Like,
and
there's
he
obviously
just
way more that goes into it.
yeah, and he just started there, so like I guess we have to give him
But
some
better
time.
to prove himself as worthy of the CCP title, at least.
Yep. But yeah, we can hope, and yeah, we're totally gonna ask next week.
Yep.
Yeah. And so the instanced fleet PvP stuff, right? Obviously, I think I said it would be the death of the game, but at the same time, I don't think we would even have enough fleets that would queue up for that. Imagine you would have like
They'd have to schedule it.
But
They'd
at
have
the
to say
same,
at one time in EUTZ, one time in US, one time AU, where only you're allowed to queue during then.
yeah, but at the same time, like, we were just talking about how we need more opportunities for like up and coming FCs to practice. That's the perfect opportunity for them to do that.
It's not because it's the same thing over and over again. There's no dynamics to it.
So-
There's no, you don't learn enough.
But there are, I think that there's baseline things that you can learn to do and practice to get it done, and then you start, once you get like the muscle memory down, then you can start looking at the nuanced happenings of getting into the different situations that you do when you're in non-instanced PvP. Or maybe some people will just want to, like people who FC incursions, people will just want to FC proving ground fleets.
So I think it is like Shine said, you need organic opportunities, not preset ones. At the same time, there have always been arranged fights in EVE. There have always been those, right?
It's almost like every fight, and to some extent.
Yeah, so like thinking about it, my first reaction was it would be the death of EVE. But at the same time, let's say they would bring a 30 versus 30 like fleet fight kind of thing. If you do it right, I think it wouldn't be a bad thing. If you do it right, which is then limited time-wise, limited to like one weekend, and then say, okay, you're gonna be kings of fucking whatever. You're already kings of Lowsec.
King of the Hill.
The kings of like Abyssal Space, whatever, right? Give them a couple skins and shit, like whoever gets the most wins, and just have it like very limited on time. You cannot have this, and you cannot have this return too often, right? You can maybe do this once a year. But I think if you do this once a year, it doesn't hurt anyone. I think it would probably be an opportunity for someone to say, okay, let's form 30 guys and, go. Take one cruiser, 30 versus 30.
Can I just say, in case somebody from CCP listens to this isn't our idea of fixing the game and content, by the way, okay? Please don't just do this and be like, how we fixed the game.
We're done. We win.
Finally, we got it all right.
We found the answer.
Yeah.
We found the answer on FC chat. Just kidding.
But come on, guys. Would you not agree that if it's done right, it could actually be fun?
I think it would be one of those things that's fun short term. Yeah.
The answer is 42. Yeah, 42 versus 42. Let's say Tech 1 frigate. Oh, Tech 1 frigate. That's probably. What would people fly in? Tech 1 frigate.
Dude, I hate frigates. I just wouldn't even frigate.
That's best. So what would you fly then?
I don't know. If it's under a cruiser, it's not a real ship.
The thing is if everything that's frigate PvP is very fast paced. It's quick. You have to be very fast in your reactions. It's not made for the old people that play this game. Reaction time too slow.
I think J42 is onto it already. Like Merlins would probably dominate. I mean, good range. Good Tristan's?
Drone's OP. I mean, I haven't frigate PvP'd in like 5 years.
Nobody has ever had a 30 versus 30 frigate like fight, you know. I think. Like, have you ever seen 30 Tech 1 frigates versus 30 Tech 1? Maybe Red versus Blue could like tell us, right?
I saw it like 7 years
Kestrels would
ago.
be number one to
Yeah,
tone.
I was just thinking max range light missile ships like a Kestrel,
Yeah.
and try to avoid everybody else would likely be the winner.
Probably. Yeah. But I'd be up for it. But yeah.
Did
we'll
you
see.
guys do the proving grounds at all? Like, have you done them yet?
I have not queued into a single one. I'll be honest. The only thing that really interests me in Eve is just FCing and getting fights that way. So nah.
I did the noob ship one, and then the thing that we went into was against like Vidra or something, so we just all died in like 2 seconds, and then I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore.
Valasius, did you like when you joined the game? Did you join with the intent of FCing? And I guess like you too, High. Like, did you guys immediately want to FC, or did you just join and like pew pew around and then decide to do something else and start trying to FC?
No, I just have initiative, so it's just natural for me. And I have a lot of experience with coordination from other games. I competed in a game called Tribes Ascend, and so it's
Never heard of that.
yeah, nobody has. It's a dead game. It's dead, but there's a lot of communication, and I'm just a person with initiative, so it was just natural that it just fell into place for me. Because if I
In
see
that
something,
game-
I just want to do it.
Yeah.
In that game, did you learn how to build relationships with the only people who can fight you in the same TZ as you, so you can save your 2 Fortizars and 5 Athanos?
Nope, not a thing
Oh.
in that game.
God damn it, High.
Because you had this relationship with Wrecking Crew before we'd even moved into this area, which I find extremely weird since you're a US time zone group, they're predominantly a US time zone group. Why not fight each other instead of just sitting all day mining?
We do.
Arranged fights don't really count, my friend. I know
You
you
can't
have
really arrange a
raw
fight when you
arrange-
have the hostile FC blocked on Discord. It's not
Well,
really
you have-
possible.
Okay, well,
We've never had a single arranged fight with RC.
deny this, or like, do you have structure and raw core mining agreements with RC?
Not structure.
Not structure. I don't believe that.
Oh well, believe what you want. Doesn't matter to me.
So you only have raw core agreements.
Yeah.
Rockall agreements. You have a
Very interesting.
That's a rumor. I'm not sure if that's actually a rumor or if it's confirmed. You have a Rockall agreement with fucking Fraternity, huh? Is that a
No.
thing?
We've killed their raw cores, dude.
Are you sure?
It's just we don't kill the. Yeah. Okay, they mined with like 70 raw cores with like 90 super protecting them. I'm not gonna go for that. We've killed their raw cores and they've just been 1 or 2 of them in low sec. We just can't really do anything when there's like 10,000 of them.
So what I heard was, or like how I picked it up, I guess I forgot what I actually heard exactly. Was that you were supposed to be like the low sec guys, like mining, and they cover you a little bit and be your backup while they do the null sec stuff. Obviously, they're already doing that anyway. But
No, not really.
so they
We've
don't
been raw continuously to siege green the last few days, and that's an AU time zone. So, no, we don't have any agreements with them for mining. I mean, they just mine with a lot of support, and we can't really do anything, I guess. We've caught a few. We had a good fight against them a couple months ago when we were still in Rakabas. We tackled a raw core, and then they formed Zealots, and we had a fight. So, yeah, I mean, we do kill them. It's just we're not down there right now. And I guess they don't really come to our side. They only mine in that Otsasai pocket. So where, I don't know if you remember, but next to Tribute, it's like Tazy, those like 5 systems, and also like Akora, which is far from us anyways. But when they do that, they mine with a lot of people, so it's kind of hard to drop them. In fact, actually, they baited us quite recently. I don't know if you remember, we killed that one Ragnarok. They baited us on a POS with like a hell, and then they escalated and dropped like 30 times.
They lost the Ragnarok?
Yeah, and then we just dropped and killed the Rag, but then we lost treads, so we actually lost more money than what the Rag was worth.
Even after insurance.
I don't think insurance matters anymore when dreads cost this much.
Well, not anymore, but maybe at the time.
This was quite recently. This was like
right.
1.5 months ago.
I mean, this is going to be like, so that's an interesting thing anyway. Like dread bomb wise, with the prices, I mean, technically, if you find a Titan, you can drop a Titan. It's now like it's probably still worth as many dreads as it was before, if I have to take a guess. But at the same time, it's still a lot of money for your guys. Right? It's not? Is it changed?
Because you can buy lots of Titans for fire sale price, because obviously there's a lot coming out from the Goon thing. You can buy a Titan for, like, if you look properly. I mean, obviously low tech, they're expensive, but you can still get some for 70, 80, and it's the same for supers. It's just, whereas dreads, you have to build them yourself, and the build cost of dreads is a lot now. So it's definitely not worth killing a Titan. You would have to be very efficient. Like, it's not worth to equally exchange.
So, kind of sad, right? So how many dreads would you drop onto one Titan? How many dreads would you be willing to lose for a Titan then? Now, right now?
In nullsec, 10 to 15.
I mean, anywhere really. I mean, it doesn't really matter where it is.
Well, like 10 dreads off it is like 50 bills. So, like, 10 to 15, because that's not really worth it once you go past that level, right?
Yeah.
But then if you're dropping I guess I would never drop dreads on like one Titan anyways. I'd be more of a multiple Titan person. Titans have barely any tank, unless they're like full tank fit or Leviathan or something.
They also lose 10% of their EHP if they get bumped. Just natural bump.
They get bumped.
Do you not know how Jonas died, Panda?
No. Is that a good story?
So we were doing a USTC fleet, and dock workers were bullying our new USTCFCs who were trying to learn how to PvP in this game. So Tao went to go and help them, and then so it's actually quite funny because I think Tao said supers jump only or something, and then Jonas, thinking a Titan's a super, jumped his Titan in and he bumped, and then he just got dread bombed, and then he died. Yeah, so he just bumped and died effectively.
Nice.
Fax Signer was very slow.
I noticed that. I saw it on the video where it's like the explosion happened and then like the faxes came in.
I think even if we jump faxes in, you probably would have killed him anyways, because he died pretty quick.
And then, I mean, there's a certain time faxes have to be on grid before it dies to even have the chance of catching reps. Right? I remember we killed a Horde Titan, and they fucked up with their faxes, and then some warped over, but it was just one or two, so no big deal. We had a chunky kicky fleet on it. But then they lit the Sino. He was like almost in structure, and then they lit the Sino, and the first faxes got on grid. But I already knew, like, yeah, if there's 10 faxes and they're all overheat and rep him right now, they might just catch him. But at the same time, I know that's not realistic. They have to low grid, they have to lock the dude, they have to cycle those reps and all that stuff. A lot of time passes by. So yeah. Fax sign has to be fast.
Anyways, Pando, that FRT Rocal thing is interesting. I'm gonna have to go kill like a whole FRT Rocal mining up now to prove you wrong.
Yeah,
that's my goal.
No
Wrath watch it.
I'm in.
They're actually pretty scary. They form a lot of fucking Titans.
I know. Dude, they were already scary when they were back in Curse, but like there are 30 dudes. We like 2000 whatever 13. Whenever we caught these guys with like a roaming gang and stuff, these guys reacted so fast, and like they were always well organized and stuff. Like even on lower numbers, they were already like scary and stuff. And that they're now this size, holy shit, right? Like it's very hard to deal with them, especially in that time zone. Like, forget about it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. You've set me a target. I will accomplish it.
Well, if I helped motivating your dudes, to go like drop on some fraternity robots, that's
You're just gonna check Zekiel and see like 500 bills dead of our dreads and like no Rocal.
And then Noro sending me some ISK. Thanks, dude.
Oh wow.
Frat's hard to gank. We do a lot of USTZ kicking, and Frat has always been the one that's giving us the most trouble.
They're tough, yeah. They're tough. Like Fred, XIX is quite tough because they,
Really, XIX.
So yeah, because they're not too afraid to be aggressive, which is always like bad if you get caught. For example, in kickies, right? We're AB kickies, right? If you get caught, you're in a whole lot of trouble. So they're not too worried about being aggressive, and they try to adapt to stuff, right? So the next time you show up, if you, like, for example, you caught them on a ping clean or whatever, you trap them in some way, right? I sometimes catch people on the wormhole, like warping afters and stuff. They adapt quickly too, right? They don't do the same mistake twice, and they bring new doctrines, like those fucking Hecates. They're just so tough to deal with if you don't have the right tools. If you have the right tools, they're pretty easy, right? Like, let's say you have like 20 jackdaws, but they can't always bring 20 jackdaws, right? So they are hard to deal with if you're in kickies, in a pure kickie fleet, and you have to actually grind down that rock on. But then, there's Hecates at a ping that are insta warp. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, try hunt Hecates that you can't really tackle? Or do you grind down the rock, or do you just give up? It's like, it's a tough situation. So XIX did always quite well, and then Fraternity, obviously, when it's their time zone especially, they can just swing their supers and shit. And that's also why they're quite good at using their projectors, because they're so used to it.
It's very noticeable how difficult whaling gets when you're fighting against people who are really good with the burst projectors, because when there's like 15 supers on grid, like, that's not that bad. But when you get like the fucking Vendetta, Vindy Web your whole fleet,
yeah,
plus like
crazy.
The bubble projector and the nuke projector, all of a sudden your ABs are off. You're all moving at like 5 ms, and you're all bubbled. And like, that's when like the feed really starts. And goons, I've noticed, have always been the ones who are best with the burst projectors.
Yeah, I mean, the guys that are best, I guess, at anything are the guys that are doing it the most, right? It's just how it is.
Yeah,
right?
they get the most practice.
Yeah, exactly. The groups that do it all day, they're gonna be the best at it, right? And that's the big groups. Right? If you get webbed once with a Vendetta web, that's it. The next newt is gonna hit you, then like more webs, more points. You're never gonna get out then. I don't even want to know how many kickies and stuff I lost to projector 8s. But yeah, but it's not too big of a problem. So I guess they're not gonna fix it, or like, I see it as not a good thing, but people will probably have other opinions on it, I guess. Give kickies 40k more range, I'd be up for that. Even more strong.
And 0 mast when jumping through drifter holes.
Yeah, I mean, actually, mass on kickies hasn't been a problem, but you never know. Maybe we want to squeeze 2 full fleets through one hole, then, I don't want to be 100% selfish. CCP Alpha says, hi, Wanto's card doesn't reflect his feminine side. Maybe we have to rework it one day.
I think the mustache is pretty great, though. I hope that never changes.
It is a stylish mustache.
CCP Alpha wasn't snuffed out. Okay, he knows me very well.
He survived snuff, you mean?
Barely.
You are being, like, you're called like the most toxic or whatever group and stuff like this, right? People like to say that.
You're just
memers. I think, I mean, I don't want to say you guys are misunderstood, but I guess I'm lucky I only have to deal with the FCs, not the member base. So I can totally see both sides of that.
People say we're toxic because of the way we play the game, right? We just don't care. We just shoot whatever, because at the end of the day, this is a game. We want to, shoot things. Like, I don't really care about anything else, and that's what makes us come across as toxic, because we're not about the empire building. Like, for example, Wrecking Crew is more of like an empire building coalition. They have lots of keep stars. They have, Soph, they want to maintain this kind of unity of multiple groups together and, build up stuff. But, we prefer to, knock these sandcastles down. So that's kind of where it comes from. Like Rocket X is more of the Goblins type empire builder, whereas we're more the Gig X type.
The Gig X type. Goblins versus Gig X. I actually tried to get Goblins on, but he's not doing any podcasts.
It makes sense. Like
Yet.
if you have public visibility, and it just encourages a group like Goons to just go after you.
A group like Goons to go after you.
Yeah.
You think?
Think about all the things that they've been saying against Test when they're the ones who are being the most vocal during the war on like any sort of media. Like there's been no
Goons are
shit
being the
talk
most
from the
vocal?
Goons leadership towards like Test and CPL. And I think it's because a lot of it is just the fact that they're just staying off all media. I'm sure it's intentional.
So I'm not sure. Like, I don't pay attention enough, I think, to know the answer to it. But I think it comes like equally from all sides, to be quite honest. Like,
yeah.
I've been on the receiving end from the other side before, right? Like, even FCs and stuff, like jumping into your local and then calling you like whatever. I don't even remember any of that shit, but it happened, right? And I never talked bad or like in any, I never talked about anyone like in a personal way or any of that stuff, right? Some friendly banter. I'm not gonna claim I'm an angel every time, 24/7, right? Sometimes if you hit me at the wrong spot, like I might just send something spicy back. But I try to keep it funny and shit, right? But still, there's gonna be like some fucking haters coming, like,
I don't think anybody
Yeah.
really attacks people's real life stuff though, right? I think that's kind of a dick move. Everything is in game.
All right.
I'm not going to go into what NC Dot people leadership has said about Pando personally, but there has been some very, very like toxic personal attacks on him, like to me directly from people on the other side, like them telling me, like giving me very personal attacks about him. So like
Well,
that's not true at all.
people say we're
Sorry.
toxic, but I kick people if they like bring up people's real life stuff. I don't like that at all. I think this is a game and it should stay a game. You can be
I don't like
toxic
it
in the
either. I'm
game,
just
and
saying
that's
it's
it.
not true that it doesn't happen. And if it's like leadership doing it, obviously they're gonna remain in, that alliance. So
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Sorry, I just got triggered for a second.
yeah, but the point we're making, that toxicity, I think it's in all groups, some groups are better at managing their toxic shitlers and stuff, and some groups do it more in private, right? Like Miranda just said, and then they go after you in other ways, but they all got their fair shares of idiots. Like, it's just how it is, right? And it's in lows the same as in nullsec, I think. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm just saying because Valasius went like with the groups like Goons.
Yeah, that's fair.
I actually need to duck out now, Pando, but Vertiso can sub in for me as the Snuff voice.
Vertiso is the official. Wait, he's not even in Snuff. Oh no, actually he rejoined. Yeah. Like, wait a second.
But you can come on now.
Okay.
I need to.
Sure.
Come here, Vertiso.
If Word wants to come on, We're only gonna go for 15 more minutes anyway. But Vert, if you want to jump in.
Say bye.
Okay. All right. I'll catch you guys later. If
All right.
Vertiso says anything bad, it's not my fault, Pando. Okay. Goodbye.
Yeah.
We'll
Thanks for coming on.
Right,
Did someone say toxic membership?
Yeah. Explain yourself, Vertiso.
Explain what part? What do you want me to explain?
Why is it toxic?
I find myself growing ever increasingly toxic in the presence of Rocket X's alliance and coalition. I think it's rubbing off on me.
It's not manifesto time for Tizo.
It's not. Oh, okay. I'll just calm down. I'll calm down then. But Highs, I had to go, and I'm drunk, so I said I'd come in and take his place. I'm a very poor substitute for High Wanto. A very poor substitute, but I will do my best. What are we talking about?
Well, we were just finishing up on the whole toxic,
Making
but
personal attacks against other people in the game.
I bet
I think people take things way too personally in this game.
Yes.
Way too personally. Like, I know people hate Pando because he does his Kiki fleet that probably makes a lot of people's life miserable, right? if you're a home defense FC, you probably hate Pando.
I don't know. I don't get that much hate.
I would.
To be honest.
If I was like another
I
FC and had to
hate
deal with, if I had to deal with Kikis,
for
I'd
you.
hate you. Yeah,
because I'm the vocal
Hey.
one, so people come to me to hate on you.
Hey, a lot of times you also like if an actual fleet is formed, I'm willing to give him a fight. I think there's at least I'm just gonna say there's at least one FC in chat also that does form like home defense stuff, and he enjoys that shit because I do take that fight, right? Like be it XIX, we talked about it earlier. Like those Hecates are 8s. They're fucking hard to deal with. They're not very expensive, but still we're gonna try to give it a fight and stuff.
they're the anti you, right? I guess. Like, if you had to take something, because the whole point of your whaling thing is to kill high value stuff. Yeah, like they want to kill high value stuff, and you're not gonna. I mean, it's not gonna be satisfying. Even if you kill a bunch of Hecates, you're not gonna walk away like,
well,
oh, that was a good one. It's gonna be annoying.
To be honest, though, when we tackle a rocker, it's not necessarily always to kill that rocker, right? Sometimes the fight that comes out of that is way better than any rocker kill you could ever have.
It's always the case, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like, I always, in a perfect world, you tackle a rocker or you tackle a couple rockers, you just finish up when they jump in, and then you have the fight, But, yeah, I mean, in general, that's why we go out. We don't go out to necessarily kill the rocker, but, like, if they don't form up for us, then, we take it. And it's like...
it's not that much fun, right? Thing. Like, if you get 100 dudes in Kikis and support ships, and you just find that lone rocker, and you're like, okay, we're going to sit here and shoot it till it's dead. That's not the most exciting thing in the world. No, it's not boring.
It's like ratting, basically.
But at least people get home with the feeling of like, okay, we got something done at least, right? Like we got one of those, whales, and
yeah, it's not the worst.
It's kind of like a structure bash, though. Like I would have the same feeling as a structure bash.
No,
it's not the best. I mean, it's not the worst. It's like a middle ground, right? It's a middle ground. At least you know that like you took one crab's fun away from him. Whereas with a structure, like you don't feel like you victimized someone. At least with a rocker, you're like,
you go for the victimization. That's what you really want.
Well, I mean, isn't that what most hunting is, isn't it? Like, if we're being honest.
Yeah, it's just funny the way you said it.
I'm just being honest. Like, when you're going hunting someone, like at this point, if you kill maybe not at this point because of the state of the game, but go back 6 or 7 months, if you hunt and kill a Titan, it's like 50 bill. It's not like a huge thing, but you're like, haha, an idiot lost his Titan. Let's be honest. Like, that's the funniest part of it, right? Like, I would personally anyway.
To be honest, like I have to think about it. Sorry, say it again.
Said you go whaling to point and laugh.
I guess.
I think if I think about this right now, and I'm gonna be honest here, I don't think that does anything for me. Like I really don't think so.
What?
So whenever I form a fleet, my goal is always I want the guys in my fleet to have a good time, right? That's honestly, and I'm really thinking about this, but like that's honestly 100% of it. Like I never kill a rocker and then think, haha, that guy. Unless he's talking shit.
We're not talking about you. We're talking about like fleet member XYZ who is
I know.
walking, is just like sitting there orbiting or anchoring and like shooting a fucking Orgul.
Yeah, that's
not
true.
doing anything else.
That's true.
I get what you're saying.
For the fleet, it is.
Like,
yeah.
From your point of view of content, you're a content creator, right? So like your whole point is you want to create fun for your people. Like at the expense of anyone, that doesn't really matter to you, but you're just trying to create fun for everyone in your group, which
Mhm.
is a big difference. Like a lot of the time, if I think of, I've been relatively inactive for a while, but before when Delve was the hunting grounds of paradise, like you'd have a lot of different groups and different people that you didn't even necessarily know all that well in your fleet, waiting for sometimes 2 hours for something to happen. You don't know them, you don't particularly feel like you owe them a good time or anything, but at the end of the day, the one thing you're all, especially in like a, not MPSI, but you know, a collective group of people, the one thing you all have in common at the end of it is you're like, we just killed this idiot shouldn't have died. Because that is the case a lot of the time. It is a case they shouldn't have died, but their own stupidity let you kill them. So, you know, in the Umbrella era, is you have to really push the boat to actually get a decent kill.
I know
Like,
Pando pretty well though, and I feel like he does do a lot of like the content creation that he does to entertain other people though.
oh yeah, definitely. Panda's a man of the people, 100%. 100% man of the people.
Hmm.
He is. You are. I don't mean that in a bad way.
No,
It's a
I
good
didn't
thing.
pick it up. It's just
Okay.
like,
I think I'm just used to everyone in Snuff Discord being horribly toxic and horrible people, but
you know, all
maybe,
the
yeah.
stuff guys I know are super nice.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's just what
beside
I
that
want you to
Trottle
say.
guy, he's not super nice, all right?
Well,
I
Troll is
But
ran
just,
everyone else.
Troll
Yeah.
just has, no one knows what's wrong with Troll. We've had studies done, we've had tests, we
he
can't
needs
work
his
it out.
medication adjusted. That's it.
Yeah.
You're trying to fix him.
You
It's not.
can't
It's
fix.
not a good
Some things are
relationship.
some things are so broken you can't fix them. That's Troll. Wonderful
If-
human being.
You have to
But,
break him down and build him back up.
Aw, I'm starting to feel bad now.
oh no, don't. He wouldn't feel bad. He
To
has
feel
no
bad for him.
soul.
But yeah.
But I was curious. I wanted to ask you. Say this war's over with whatever outcome. Because I asked you this last time I spoke to you, but I'm curious if your opinion's changed. Where do you see the game, or what do you see? I'm not going to say what do you see in it doing, because obviously you can't say. But what do you wish the game would be after this super stupid war of never-ending tie-dye ends?
What do I wish? Or what do I think it will be?
What do you? Why not both? Let's go for both.
Well, I wish like everyone just like says, okay, this war's done, and then breaks up, and there's no more coalitions. You know, that would be my wish.
Okay, all right. Well, let's go for the realistic option then.
But yeah, the
'Cause
realistic
that's not
thing is
gonna
like
happen.
a war on this scale is just going to push people into bigger groups and bigger groups, right?
I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking, if you think about the average perception from people in nullsec groups and the average member, like whatever people call them, I think that in that group of people, in the average member, there is a bigger desire for more smaller groups, but there's a big lack of leadership figures that are going to lead them. Like realistically, you could have 200 people in each alliance, you know, that want to try something different, try something smaller scale. But each one of those would need a leader and 2 FCs and 4 logistics people and, you know, like a team of people actually doing the work that creates the content. And that's what's really lacking, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a shower thought, so it might be completely wrong. But, you know, at the end of the day, you can have, like, I was looking at what Goons are doing recently with their, what I don't know, like the second founding things with a couple hundred people put into different groups. Like, that kind of sums it up perfectly. Like, I'm sure those people will be good friends or whatever and have fun together, but they're not going to get anything done without a leader, 2 leaders, organizationally speaking, a couple of FCs, a couple of logistics people, some scouts, and like what you need to actually make a medium-sized group work is quite a lot, right? It's not just like you need like one guy to say, I'm making a smaller group. It takes so much more than that, which
Yeah.
it seems very difficult to do.
You cannot really
Why-
say it, but like, why do you think there aren't that many people who are willing to do it?
It's a lot of work, man. Like, you know, probably better than I do. Trying to, like you said before, like, trying to create content for people. It's not a part-time job. It's pretty much a full-time job. You have to be watching the game constantly. You have to be watching what's happening constantly. When I think of what people like Tao and Hai do, like I don't know how they find time for it, to be honest.
Yeah,
And that
and
goes
for a
across
while they
all
didn't find
coalitions.
time, so they
Yeah, exactly.
disbanded
Exactly.
the
Like the bigger groups. If you're, it depends what your players want at the end of the day. And if you look at the huge groups, like I'm not being biased in team state. I'm just thinking of goons. Because for a long time they didn't do much outside of Delph, right? Because people would bring content to their doorstep in terms of like whaling fleets, something for them to like form up for. They weren't doing anything offensively, but they still had a lot of people wanting to do stuff.
I mean,
it takes a lot. It does take a lot to take a medium-sized group and give it purpose. Like I love Trigger Happy at the start of it. Like I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Kenda. I love Kenda to death. And what he tried to do, obviously, if real life hadn't got in the way, it would have been interesting to see what happened. But it wasn't just Kenda. There were other people putting a lot of time and effort into it that probably aren't getting the recognition they deserve for it. But if you're going to have multiple, sorry.
No, I was just trying to bring Valasius into this because he is actually in a medium-sized group that's not too old. So
the dog worker.
They actually, they got onto my radar not too long ago, right? Maybe a year ago, half a year ago. I don't even know.
You've been around for a while, haven't you, Dock Workers? Maybe like a year or two.
But not in that size, right?
It was about a year and a half now. I think the alliance has been formed, but it's mostly a continuation of Did He Say Jump, with some extra corps thrown in there too. So there's definitely a long history of it, but it's definitely far different than what it was before. Because now that Pred's gone, it's mostly me. I'm trying to develop more, but you all know how that struggle can go.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do as one person, right?
Yeah. But at least the nice thing, at least from my perspective, is that when I joined, nobody knew me in my corp. At the time, it was just a corp. But I mean, as long as you just start showing initiative and some amount of results, the people who can help you with the side things, they just naturally come out and they want to help you. Like I now have people who have seen what I've done and now want to safe log dictors for me, want to scan wormholes for me, want to say build 100 of a specific battleship for me. So it's hard, but as long as you show a little bit of promise early on, you can do it.
Yeah, I think that's always important when you want that support team. You have to make it worthwhile for them, right? You have to like show them like I'm not wasting your time. If you put in work, like we can do some awesome shit, and if you then deliver, that's how you build that team, right? I really think that's the key there.
I'm curious, and obviously I'm not going to try and trick you into saying something you don't want to say or revealing anything. But for Valasius, like how many people would you say you have as a team that make the stuff you want to do possible? Is it like 5, 10 people, or more or less? Because it's a big team you need, right, to like get stuff done on any satisfactory scale. You do need to have.
Yeah, it's 5 to 10. It depends on the scale and the different things that are required. Say if it's Titan bridges or safe log dictors or specific ships moved to a specific spot. So yeah, 5 to 10 is consistent.
Because if we say a medium-sized group needs at minimum 10 people, including or not even including the leader, like we all want to see the big group split down, but it would require 100, 200, 300 people to step into these roles that they might not be used to in groups that are brand new, and there's a massive risk in terms of investment and time spent. It doesn't seem practical or even realistic, as much as I want it to happen.
Yeah.
I don't see a way of it happening without there being the thing we're lacking is a huge motivation, right? Whether it's financial or whatever. When I say obviously it's not money, but like a motivation for people to make that step or make that jump into doing something. Otherwise, it's just easier to coast in like a SIG or a squad within a big group.
That is actually an interesting point. So whenever we talk about the big groups, what I always used to say is, and I might just change my mind right this moment, but what I used to say is like all these ACL access things and everything make it so easy, like quality of life, that's always the title that it has. But in general, you make coalition life easier, you make it easier for big groups to be big And for smaller groups, it's like it doesn't really matter too much. But maybe we need changes that make it easier to be a smaller group compared to a big group, right?
Well, it's a convenience thing, right? And if you think about
that's
the
what I mean.
average age of EVE players, like we're not all like 19, 20 and able to spend on average spend all the time in the world we want to on the game. So the default preference is going to be ease and convenience.
And
I know
the coalitions make up the majority of the player base that are subbing and giving CCP most of their money. Therefore, quality of life adjustments that cater to them is what makes sense from a business standpoint, I think.
I mean, I get you. I get what you're saying. I guess they're trying to balance the reality of game enjoyment to financial benefit for CCP is probably like a never-ending cycle of pointless frivolity, because we're never going to reach a balance there. But I know this has been said 100 times. But if you want to make it motivational for medium groups to exist, passive moon mining. I know it seems like such a small thing, and it's almost a trope at this point that people harp on about. But give a group a reason to live in a place that no one else is living, and passive moons. Like 100 people
Where's
move to
Shines?
I mean,
Shines loves it.
There he is.
Shines is a smart guy. Shines knows the game better than a lot of people, and it seems pretty self-evident to me.
So,
like, you want people splitting down, motivate them, give them riches to reach for, right?
Yeah.
I know we're in an age of like starving people right now, and that's probably not going to change. But like, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with passive moons at all. Like, before I even played the game, I didn't really even get into the game when passive moons were a thing. But like,
you
I
weren't
understand
playing?
No, not really.
Oh, really?
Not properly. I mean, I was
Alright.
at the time when I started. I spent a long time just running my initial, steal money from Horde scam so that I could play the game and inject all the supers and titans that I needed. But I missed a lot of that stuff, and my understanding from my alliance mates is that was a hell of a lot of fun, and there were some big fights over that.
Whenever we talk about passive moons, or like not every time, but usually it's always from a content perspective, because like a lot of content was lost. And actually, when you guys look at the end screen of the stream, there's a dread fight that's actually above a pause, which is kind of funny. And you can see the pause force field actually at the bottom. Like it's I think it was an X70 actually, but it was about a pause, right? But yeah, a lot of content was lost. But like, it is an interesting like point that mid-sized group that would be beneficial for them. Right? It's hard to.
So I've never understood. Like, I've struggled with my understanding of CCP's intentions. So I might just be missing the point here. They want to create scarcity, right? And considering the stockpile, like, even if I think about the dreads that I know people have, that's not going to run out in a long time, right? Like, I know a guy with 500 dreads and 200 citadels. Like, that's just one guy. The stockpiles aren't going to run out anytime soon. Especially with increases of scarcity, people are going to be more risk averse, right? Like, give people reasons to risk assets, and you'll see assets disappear. Like, trying to throttle it on the end they're throttling on is really short-sighted and shows like a lack of understanding of like players' motivations to play the game. Like, people don't want to spend 20 hours grinding for 2 hours of fun. They'll risk 20 they'll risk 20 hours of grinding for 2 hours of fun. But they don't want that, as long as it's being loaded on the wrong end. And I'm sure they have like an idea of what they're doing that I can't grasp because I'm not an economically minded person. But like, it just seems to me common sense that let the players get what they want and then pay the bill afterwards in terms of effort, and they'll do it because they've got that taste of what could be, and they'll keep putting the effort in to get that again. But investing that time initially on the hope of something that might happen that probably won't because people are so risk adverse, things are never going to change. Things are never going to get more explosive. They're going to get less explosive. And I don't think anyone that plays the game wants that.
That's what I keep saying. Like, I think I said it the last episode too, is like the scarcity isn't going to cause fights over resources, because like one of the main golden tenets of EVE Online is don't fly what you can't afford to lose. So when you make it so we can't afford to lose anything, we're just not going to fly shit.
Yeah, I 100% agree to that. And on top, what we also talked about last time was like scarcity breeds war. That's not correct, because like if nobody has anything, like why would I fight with the other guy next door if he
Yeah.
doesn't have shit? You know, like what am I
Right.
gonna
It's
fight
like a bunch
over?
of ibises like ramming each
Yeah.
other.
And if you've got everything to lose, why would you risk that for some, like, if I only had like one fucking ship left, no fight to me is going to be like, oh yeah, that's totally going to be worth it to lose this fucking ship. If I know that I can't replace it, no fight's going to be worth it. I would rather just hoard my shit then. And the only people that it's going to hurt, like, it's not going to hurt the coalitions, like Vert was saying, that have all of these huge ass stockpiles of stuff. It's just going to hurt the people that don't have those stockpiles. So it's not going to hurt the coalitions, and the scarcity isn't going to make the coalitions feel the pain. It's going to hurt those smaller groups that don't have those stockpiles and don't have that industry already in place to get what they need.
And another thing that's important to think about also is something I completely forgot. I lost my train of thought mid-sentence. Like when you finished, and I was like, oh shit, I wanted to say something super smart. What we were talking about, like you don't want to lose ships and stuff.
Yep. You don't want to fly ships that you can't afford to lose. And if it can't afford to lose my last ship, I'm not going to want to fly it. And you're talking about fighting the guy next door.
No, it's
Anything?
gone.
No, it's
Usually
gone.
it comes back. Usually it comes back when I sit down on it, and then but like this one's lost.
Maybe you should throw
2
your
minutes when the stream stops, you're like,
Yeah.
you're gonna like hit yourself.
If you think about
Yeah, that's true.
the majority of people in the game, and I'm not saying this is like a condescending way, but like the majority of people live in nullsec where the promise of content is more common than the delivery of it, right? Like, how many times do people form up dreads not to use them, form up titans or supers not to use them, right? And that's the majority of the game. Those people are not gonna, like, in the scarcity, they're not gonna put those ships on the line without even having a taste of what they could get for that risk, right? Once you know what you can get for it, you're gonna think, oh, I could have that sweet
come back.
dunk again. Or
Yeah.
It got back. All right. So one
Go,
random
go.
thought was like, I think what's also happening is the scarcity thing, because we don't know the exact roadmap for this. Is people are hoarding their shit too. A lot of people are waiting for better weather, really, right? Which is then also killing content, right? So you have to be aware of that too, I think, if you're CCP. I'm not sure if there are. I'm hoping there.
I mean, even if there was, they wouldn't be able to tell us anyway. So we're still going to hoard things because we're not going to know regardless of what direction they're going in. So if we don't know what's going to be scarce, we're just going to fucking stockpile everything just in case. Especially the guys that are actually doing the large scale industry in the first place.
Yeah, and then like now you have your dreads still. Let's say you're a guy with like 500 dreads, but they might just get even more expensive. So like it's not even like, oh yeah, you're the guy, you want to use them, but then at the same time, like maybe they're gonna double in price one more time. Like who knows? I think we are kind of getting to the end of this, but at the same time, I think it is a factor.
Well, there's a big risk, right? There's a big factor in a lot of groups, and I'm not pointing out any in particular, but say your Titan that you paid 50 bill for is now worth 150 bill, right? Can you think of many groups that would completely trust their FC team to not whelp them in a stupid way? And when it's suddenly worth 3 times what you paid for it, and you're thinking, this guy, does he know what he's doing? And I know there are a lot of groups that do have members like that.
I think it is one of the groups that people would actually trust.
Yeah, I'm not trying to imply that. I wasn't trying to imply that at all.
I'm just saying I think there are. There's a lot of groups where they're not, but I think there definitely are groups where there are.
Yeah, but the fact is that the groups, so those Titans essentially become dead weight or like ineffectual assets, right? Like I can think of a few groups off the top of my head where I know that members wouldn't jump caps, let alone super caps, in the current state of financial disarray.
I mean,
so,
but that's an old problem too with Supers and Titans is the numbers game again, right? Like if you have the absolute dominance on field, you field your Supers and Titans. If you don't, then you don't. Right? You know, it's and then for some groups, absolute dominance like is achieved a little quicker. You know, they're more confident with less on field, I guess. And then some groups will never achieve that level of confidence on field, and they'll never field their Titans or Supers. Right? It's just how it is. Right? It always depends on where you live, and that supports the whole coalition building thing again. Do you have more buddies around at this time? And like, do you have that bat phone ready to call in whoever big buddy you've got?
It's like a choice at the end of the day. Do you want to either go for a group where you can trust in the guys to make the decisions, or do you want to go for a group that's going to have at least 7 other groups there to cover your ass if you make a mistake? And that's like it's personal preference, really, I would imagine. But yeah, it's it's going to get worse as well. It's not going to get better. Like I'm talking from my experience, so it's only based on what I've seen recently because I haven't been playing the game much. But we've been playing against obviously Wrecking Crew and group around there where even just losing battleships, their numbers dwindle in like order of magnitude by like half, like every time.
Don't make this some fucking.
No, I'm not. I'm talking just like I'm trying to be objective. I'm not. I'm just trying to be objective from because I haven't got much to draw on from like recent history. I don't know what like the Delve War numbers are like, so I'm just talking from experience. Like we'll just move on from that. But basically, people can't afford to lose ships right now, like especially for things they deem unworthy. Let's just say that, right? So we can talk about the Delve thing. Like right now, can you imagine if Pappy were to anchor a Keepstar on 1DQ? Do you think Goons would be as eager to deploy the throw shit till it dies mechanic, or do you think they might let it anchor and see what plays, or do you think they might commit Titans and Supers? I'm just saying that this changes, right? It changes what options people have on the table, and if they realize that or not, then that's one thing. But
I think if one group has displayed their willingness to take risks and like also feed some shit to get some shit done, it was Goons, right?
Sure.
So
yeah, I'm not trying.
There's going to be Titans on field if you anchor keeps them when you trust me.
I suppose it's jammed, isn't it? I guess so.
It's jammed. It's going to be camped fuck everywhere.
Yeah, true. That's probably not the best example then.
Yeah, no.
I keep forgetting.
But I get it. But I get it, right? That's that's also an argument I keep hearing from our side, like from the Goon side, is like the Pappy guys have taken their sweet time. They have avoided risks where they could. And like you can argue that's probably a smart move. There's a lot of keepsters to kill. If you lose a Titan or two on every keepster, there's not going to be a lot of Titans left at the end of the day, right? Yeah. So they have to be very careful on each keepster and stuff. But then are they going to be willing?
They're not in a rush, right? They're not in a rush. I don't see, like from my outsider's point of view, if I was a guy in charge of Pappy, I would say we have our home region. So Tests don't have the home region, but from a PanFam mainly point of view, they have their home region. What are they in a rush for? They can take their sweet time and do these keepstars one at a time, collect all the loot, collect all the Citadel loot. I can't imagine they're in a rush to storm 1DQ, personally. I wouldn't see the benefit of rushing 1DQ either. Like, there's no real need to, there's no need to risk, and there's certainly no desire to risk in the current, economic situation. But, I don't know. Yeah, I think whatever, either way, as soon as it's over, the better. Whatever the outcome is, and people can go back to enjoying the game. I can't imagine that people joining fleets on either side are having a swell time right now. Because I know you guys, and you're clearing out region after region, but it's uncontested citadels. I can't imagine it's exciting content.
Well, we had some really good fights, especially at the beginning, and then we poked a little bit to the sides. who were the guys, Valkyrie Alliance and XIX, but they weren't really our targets, so we took some fights with them, and they were fun. But and then Brave, we took every fight we could, and on top of that, some fights we couldn't. So we got some fights out of it, and then when it was like kind of over, we like went into grind mode and like did the whole like ultra grind and Empires. I think it was, from a work perspective, it was acceptable for our guys. Right? It was a little hardcore. We knew coming in, but I think we handled it okay. But yeah, grinding structures is not fun. No, it is what it is.
Which I guess is for you as a person, I guess, more than as a group. Is I know that you just want to give your guys fun, but there's also the objective in mind. So it's a difficult, not difficult sell. It's just uncomfortable and not fun.
Yeah. At the same time, though, I mean, you have to admit that in Eve also the I don't want to say the narrative, but the story and like the struggle and all that stuff. It's all part of it too, right? So as a group, to finally get to the place where you can kill an entire region of the guys that have been shit talking like crazy, like the last.
I'm sure it's satisfying.
Yeah, so it is satisfying to a degree.
It's punching back at the people that are punching you. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I get it. Like we've had the exact same thing, right? Because obviously we're hitting Wrecking Crew and Siege Green, and then every day Siege Green are taking Nagas and reffing all our Black Cry stuff, and it's, I don't know. Part of it feels like token resistance, but the other part feels like, what else could you be doing? It's a good use of time.
Well, there's nothing else really to do on
Yeah,
that
true.
side. It's
true.
And then another thing, Pando, that I think makes it a little bit easier for your guys is knowing you get all of the cores, the structure mods, and like any salvage. Because when it comes to actually building a new home for you guys, that gives like pretty much everybody a pretty big head start for your guys.
Well,
and I think that would be motivating,
well, isn't it? It's satisfying. Like
it is.
It's you get like the Citadel loot was always a pretty big boon, but getting a core on top of it is like, it's not a bad thing at all. It's
the cores are alright, but like the big paydays were the ones that were abandoned. There was an abandoned fort that has been a staging before. Like, holy shit, there was some good stuff dropping there. Like, that's.
Can you imagine?
I don't want to go into this rant.
Well, wait. We can go into this rant because can you imagine how good it would be if there was no asset safety?
You know what?
And how way better it would be.
I do get the no asset safety thing, but I think that train is gone. When Citadels were introduced with assets, you can't go back on it. It's just not like.
You say that they've kind of gone back on it.
Yeah, I mean that was.
I saw the consequence.
Oh my god, that wasn't a good move. But hey, if they would, like, there are ways to change it. But to go absolutely no asset safety on any Citadel, I think that's definitely not a good call.
The only people they're protecting by doing that are the ones that don't sub to the game and don't play the game. So they're losing people that sub to the game. If we're talking about this from a business point of view, they're making people that are subbed want to sub more alts and maybe even make people want to come back. But the people that have left the game, for the most part, they've left the game. They're not putting money in CCP's wallet.
I think. That's a little too hardcore. I think you're going too far there. I think you're going too far. If someone didn't play for a year or two, I did take a break for like.
Would you put your stuff in stations? Would you put your stuff in stations if you left the game?
Like I forgot if I like made the conscious decision to leave the game. It was more of a temporary thing because I did the mandatory military service here. So I didn't play in that time. Maybe I went in thinking I would still be playing, and then I would still have my shit. But then if you get busy suddenly, you're not thinking about Eve necessarily. And like if you're an FC and you're like hardcore, like we all are, then you might just, right? But a lot of people that just casually play, that have been grinding this stuff for like years, like you can't just like destroy this stuff. It's just like it would just destroy it. Well, maybe if someone else owns it now. It's not destroyed.
That's smart. It's just not yours anymore.
If someone unsubscribes, CCP should just send them an email being like, "We see you're taking a break from the game. it might be worth logging in as an alpha just to make sure your stuff gets asset safety
Yeah, but
before it
come
gets.
on.
Like,
Yeah, okay, but what about like people? So there's a lot of military people. What about people that get stuck on last minute deployments and shit?
Okay.
I know that's like
So-
a relatively
It's-
small demographic.
It's relatively niche, but no, it's valid. Like, the problem is catering, and it sounds really brutal to say this, catering to the minority of people in the game at the expense of the majority is as fair as it is. Seems short-sighted financially when they could just get, I mean, we're talking about a game. As soon as it's a game that a lot of people in this game take way too seriously, and plenty of people take it more seriously than they do anything else. Let's just embrace that and just go full on hardcore brutal mode where if you got a real life, screw you. Your game stuff gets destroyed. It's not like it's automatically going to happen either. Like, if you've got to take a break, put it in a station, right click asset safety from your assets and go back to being AFK. It's not the hardest thing in the world to do.
What?
Yeah,
Like,
or you keep all your shit in a keep star and then have Snuff come blow it up and then lose all your shit.
I don't know, Vert, but what if it's like someone in null and it's an app? Say it's in catcher and pass the asset safety system, some ascend system in derelict. How is that guy with one account supposed to be able to get that stuff in the asset safety that's a hell camp system back to where he lives?
Should we like worry about the guy with should CCP worry about the guy with one account or the majority of people that play the game
Yes.
with 5+
But we
accounts?
we keep giving you different situations that all like together
I just want
make
blood, okay? I
a
want blood.
lot of people
I never said I was
that are
a
in those
reasonable person.
situations.
I never said
And
I
then you're
was
like, no, we
reasonable.
can't
Alright.
just care about this guy. But what about like?
I'm with you on the blood part, Vert. Like, more blood, more of that stuff's good, but
But that's not
Yeah,
the
that-
I
it is a
know,
balance.
I know I'm being short-sighted and being very like tunnel vision
Okay.
into this, but like I'm
Alright.
not blind to that.
So
But it's just frustrating because it could be such a great motivator for combat,
alright,
and
so
currently it's not.
so basically we're already 20 minutes over. So I like the only thing I kind of want to say about this is like I said before, you can do it right, and the thing I always suggest is have Keepsters, Fortizars, and Astroses remain their asset safety. It's like they're supposed to be the staging ones, and then give the other ones 50% drop rate. That's
Like
enough of an
engineering
incentive.
complexes and refineries,
Engineering,
basically.
refineries, like, yeah, give them a drop rate. So whatever you have in there, you risk it. But at the same time, the same point holds with the, like, if someone had to go. So if you are on a deployment or you get sick, like Alaska said in chat, it's very real, right? It happens all the time. So make that rule. Everyone who hasn't logged in, if you haven't logged in during that time of that change, your asset safety should still remain, right?
Grandfathered in.
Yeah, so in that case, then everyone who is logged in since the change is aware of this change. So everyone is aware, okay, if I put my shit into the Sotillo, it is at risk, right? So it's a very different thing. And I think they missed that opportunity at the very beginning to do something like this. But it's not impossible to fix it, right?
I think now that we have like these headquarter structures and stuff, maybe there'd be a way to incorporate that with like differing rules in asset safety, where you can set a structure as your headquarters structure, and then that has like different type of rules for drops, maybe.
Yeah.
There's a lot of options that are better than our current situation.
Yeah, that's
Basically,
basically
is what we can agree on.
That's basically what we all can agree on. Like there needs to be a change. I think all FCs agree to that. Like I've not met an FC yet that says like, oh yeah, like this is like I love grinding structures. It's the best part of the game. Or not the best, right? This is
You can't have unlimited structures per system and no drop rate per like even a system where the more citadels there are, the more gets dropped or something like that. You can't just have 50 Athenors and 50 Astra Houses in a system and they all drop you like 400 mil of citadel guns and citadel ammo. Like it's just counterintuitive. Like carrot and stick. Like the whole game is like a carrot and stick, but it seems way more stick than carrot. I'm not asking for like the entire everything to drop 100%. but I'm like, it would be nice if there was some motivation to do it. Like in LoSec, we grind. Like I used to grind. I'd look at reaction indexes, right, and go and kill reaction Athenors that have high indexes, and because you get a percentage of the jobs that are in build as a payment. But apart from that, there's no real reason to it. Like, it's just a missed opportunity. Asset safety, Citadels is just a missed opportunity in terms of ISK sync, as someone's saying in chat, and just potential fight generators. Like, if you've got an alliance staging out of a fort over anything else, they might not fight over other stuff, but you bet their teeth that they'll fight hard over that staging fort as well, because they've got a reason to. There should always be a reason to fight, not a reason not to fight, because you know it will just end up in a station.
Yep. I think we can all agree.
Yeah, like no one in this game looks at the game and thinks there's too many reasons to fight. No one, except for like, the high sec miners, and they do their own game, and trying to change that is futile. But
There's
everyone
nothing
that is
wrong with them doing the game
yeah,
that they
yeah. I'm not judging, but like trying to influence that is futile, right? So I just don't even bother with it. So just think about everyone that lives in nullsec and lowsec. 99% of those people would say we would like more reasons to fight. No one disagrees on that. So I don't understand why that's such a hard thing for the game to push forward on, instead of less reasons to fight, which is the current direction, which is a shame. I'm sure there's a long-term reason for it, probably adding value to those fights that do happen, but right now, I think everyone just wants more reasons to fight.
Yeah.
And we don't have
them. Rant over. I think we have to cut it.
I told you I'm drunk. Like I told you,
it's a fun.
We accepted the risk.
We're like 30 minutes over. But
the risk is calculated, but we're really bad at math.
Well, I think it was an important thing to talk about. It always is. Right? It will never end the Citadel discussion.
I mean, hopefully, if we just keep ranting about it, people will listen. But
I think they are listening.
We're not a vocal minority, right?
It's a complex issue.
Yeah.
It's a very complex thing. You can't just clap your hands and it's fixed. That's the problem, right? Like someone has to sit down and fix this over a long time. This is like it's a commitment.
It's a big job. It's a big job.
Yeah, but it's a job that needs to be
Maybe they're working on it right now and we don't know about it.
Maybe they are.
I don't mean to make it sound like it's some frivolous task that I don't understand why they haven't done.
No,
it's not easy. It's not easy. It probably involves like a significant redesign of the entire game at this stage. So it's certainly not an easy task, but
it probably does.
It's something we all agree on, which is why it's frustrating that it hasn't happened.
All right. Any very last things you want to get rid of, guys? Any shout outs?
I'm gonna shout out my own thing, alright? Maybe like a month ago I started doing a YouTube series called Midscale, where I give commentary on my own fights that I take. So anybody who's interested in watching like the FC perspective and commentary, just search all one word Midscale on Reddit and you'll find a link to it.
Just link it in.
Link it in the
Yeah,
Discord.
one second.
Put it in our crap, which one is it? Links and videos on the Discord also.
Yeah, the only time I ever did a what do we call it? Fleet analysis stream was actually with you.
Yep. And to me it's like talking sports, so it's just something I really enjoy doing.
And I always thought like I should do this more, but at the same time, like I need more FCs that are like willing to put their shit out there and then talk about their fuck ups. There's not a whole lot of them out there.
I can give you a 2-hour long list of my fuck ups. The first one was subscribing to EVE Online, and they all stem from there. I can give you 2 hours.
Stop it. You're drunk, Batizo. Anything else you want to say?
I wanted to ask Val a question, if that's allowed, and it's not a hostile question; it's a friendly question.
Go for it, Vert. You get one hostile question per show.
No, it's a friendly question. I was just wondering if on the fort timer where your alliance was in Nagas, were you the FC of the Nagas?
Yeah.
Okay, I was gunning the fort, and I hate you, but I respect you massively because you were so annoying, so effectively annoying.
I can tell you it was the most boring thing I think I've ever done. We literally did nothing but shot the fort because you can't track fighters in Nagas.
Yeah, I think I managed to get 2 of you, and Yeah, it was frustrating. It was very frustrating, but it was a fun little mini game. It was ratting on the carrier and a weird little mini game on the fort, but you did a good job there. You did a very good job.
Well, thank you for.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, it can be nice.
Let's end it on this wholesome
Toe hug.
thing. Alrighty. Then I would say, everyone, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the subs. Thanks for coming on, everyone. And whoever gets that skin at the end, you need to be fast, but here we go.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.